Today's video addresses the question of what happens when a seller dies before closing. If you've attended any of my classes, you've heard me say that a contract does not expire because of the death of the seller. Rather, the contract, upon death of the seller, becomes an obligation of the estate. The estate is contractually obligated to sell the property to the buyer pursuant to the terms of the contract. At that point, however, the issue becomes one of who has authority to sign on behalf of the estate. The answer to this question depends on several scenarios. The question is whether there's a will that will be probated, or whether the estate goes through a court administration with a court-appointed administrator, whether the will can be filed as a muniment of title, or whether the heirs, through proper proof of heirship, can convey. I have addressed this in a previous video. The more specific question today is what happens when a seller dies before closing and the contract closing date comes before the estate can establish, either through probate or other means, the proper authority to sell the property. Texas courts have held that the buyer's right to have a contract enforced is not defeated by delay in the consummation of the contract in the case of seller's death, irrespective of the passing of the closing date in the contract. This means that the estate has an obligation to convey the property to the buyer and must use reasonable efforts to make that happen, even after the closing date. In other words, the estate cannot use death as a means to get out of the contractual obligation to sell the property to the buyer by delaying the contract close past the closing date. Allegiance Title is pleased to present answers to your questions. If you have a question, please send it to tipoftheweek@allegiancetitle.com. Allegiance is your resource for results. Thank you for your business.